Picture this. It's 7 p.m. on a Friday. You're utterly exhausted. You've just collapsed onto the couch after a grueling, endless week, and you are ready to finally take a breath. And then, your phone screen lights up the dark room. It's a coworker. They're asking for a quick favor this weekend. Immediately, your chest tightens. You know that feeling, right? But before you even realize what you're doing, your thumbs just kind of betray you. You type back, "Sure, no problem." And boom, just like that, your weekend is gone, your peace of mind completely gone. In this explainer, we're setting out on a deeply personal journey to reclaim our lives, our boundaries, and our peace of mind. So let's dive right in.
I want you to mentally visualize your calendar right now. Literally, see the blocks of time stacked up on top of each other. Now, how many of those blocks actually belong to you? Imagine that heavy sinking feeling in your chest when the phone rings or an email pops up. You feel your shoulders tense up. You let out that heavy sigh before responding because you instantly know someone wants a favor you simply can't afford to give. Why do we do this? Why do we sacrifice our own desperately needed rest for someone else's convenience? I really want you to ask yourself a tough question here. Are you the main character in your own life or just a supporting cast member in everyone else's?
If that resonates with you, trust me, you're not alone. Damon Zahariades, the author of the text we're unpacking today, didn't write this from some ivory tower. He wrote it from the absolute trenches of his own burnout. He actually admits his own painful realization, calling himself a recovering people-pleaser. He confesses that he'd eagerly sacrifice his own goals, his own rest, and his own pursuits just to help someone else achieve theirs. It's a pretty painful mirror for a lot of us. If you regularly feel unhappy, stressed out, and completely exhausted because you're always putting everyone else first, well, you are exactly who needs to hear this.
To guide us out of this trap, we're turning to the ultimate playbook, Damon Zahariades' The Art of Saying No. And listen, this isn't just about learning to utter a single syllable. It's about a radical, completely unapologetic rewiring of how you value yourself. It's about how to stand your ground, reclaim your time and energy, and definitively refuse to be taken for granted. And the best part? Doing it all without feeling that crushing weight of guilt. So let's look at how this builds into a practical strategy for taking our lives back.
The people-pleasing trap. Okay, we really have to start by understanding the massive emotional and physical toll of constantly saying yes. It's a habit, right? A reflex that just drains our vital energy and leaves us feeling irritated and, honestly, pretty cynical. Zahariades shares a super relatable anecdote from his college days that hits the nail on the head. He was the guy with the pickup truck. You know exactly what that means. The second anyone needed a couch moved, his phone rang. Because he automatically said yes to every single request, he became the universal mover. And he agreed to everything until he hit an absolute breaking point. The constant ringing of his phone literally began to fill him with dread. He was fueled by fierce resentment and self-loathing because his own needs were always pushed to the back burner. It's a terrible way to live, and it's the ultimate consequence of the people-pleasing trap.
Which leads us to section 2, why we fear the word no.
So this brings us to a really interesting psychological crossroads. Why does one of the smallest words in the English language carry such terrifying, awesome power over our lives? Why does just the thought of saying it make our palms sweat? Well, the answer starts way back in our past. Think back to when you were a toddler. Saying no was incredibly easy, right? It was probably your favorite word. But fast forward to grade school. That's when the childhood conditioning took over. We quickly and often painfully learned that teachers, parents, and authority figures heavily penalized us for refusing them. We were taught that saying yes makes you a good kid and saying no makes you difficult or insubordinate. And guess what? We carry that exact same hardwired conditioning right into our adult lives.
As adults, this fear morphs into something way more complex. We desperately want to avoid disappointing people. We twist ourselves into knots, terrified of conflict, terrified of burning bridges, or being labeled as inflexible or selfish. But here's the absolute crucial point. Self-care is not selfish. It's a fundamental necessity. If you constantly say yes just to avoid conflict, you're going to slowly become miserable. You've heard the saying, you simply cannot pour from an empty cup? It's totally true. If you let your cup run dry for everyone else, you're going to have absolutely nothing left for your own life.
And then, of course, there's the ego, the illusion of being invaluable. Just imagine a friend asks for help, pointing out that your aid is absolutely crucial. They tell you they just couldn't do it without you. Wow, it feels incredibly good to be considered that important, doesn't it? Our egos absolutely eat that up. But I want you to ask yourself, are you sacrificing an entire Saturday with your spouse and kids, time that is deeply important to you, just to appear valuable in the eyes of an asking friend? We really have to recognize our motivations here. Are you saying yes to help, or are you saying yes just to feel important?
Section 3. Strategies to say no gracefully. Now that we understand the deep-rooted psychology of the problem, let's pivot to some actual tactical solutions. Reversing a lifelong habit requires actionable, rhythmic strategies that you can deploy the very next time someone asks for your time. So, strategy number 1. Be direct and straightforward. See, when we do finally manage to say no, we instinctively downplay it. We beat around the bush like a kid trying to avoid getting in trouble. We say things like, well, I think I might have to organize my garage this weekend, but maybe if I finish early, I can swing by. No, stop doing that. To reclaim your time, you've got to deliver your answer clearly and directly. Ambiguity, it only invites negotiation. Let's look at one of the absolute most powerful mindset shifts in the source material. It's a subtle yet massive difference between saying, I can't and I don't. When you say, I can't help you move because my back hurts, you're offering a fake excuse, and you're leaving the door wide open for them to say, oh, well, what about next weekend when you feel better? Contrast that weak habit with the undeniable power of a declarative boundary. When the author finally snapped out of his trap, he didn't make up excuses. He simply stated, I don't help people move anymore, period. I don't establishes a hard rule. It ends the negotiation instantly. It speaks to your actual identity, not just your current circumstances.
Moving on to Section 4, Setting Boundaries with Loved Ones.
Look, it's one thing to boldly tell a coworker you don't have the bandwidth. It is entirely different and requires ultimate finesse to say no to the people who hold our hearts. So let's navigate these relational landmines. Think of an extended family member who is notoriously persistent. Maybe they even use heavy emotional manipulation or familial guilt to get you to surrender your time or money. You must hold your ground. Or consider your spouse. Tiptoeing through that minefield feels dangerous because we so deeply equate saying yes with love and trust. But here is the major breakthrough. Saying no to a partner when necessary actually establishes healthy respect and value in the relationship. It prevents that slow, quiet buildup of long-term resentment. And with neighbors, proactively setting clear boundaries aligns their expectations with your own convictions, ensuring you stay friendly without a single twinge of guilt.
Next up, Section 5, the ultimate challenge, yourself.
Now we arrive at probably the most surprising twist in this whole explainer. The absolute most difficult person you will ever have to learn to say no to isn't your boss, it's not your mother, and it's not your neighbor. It's you. We're talking about saying no to your own impulses. Just think about doom scrolling on your phone at 2 a.m. instead of getting the sleep you desperately need. Or think about reaching for immediate gratification instead of putting in the work on a long-term dream. Whenever you give in to these short-term temptations, you literally become a slave to your impulses. That quick hit comes at the direct, painful expense of your long-term fulfillment. Learning to say I don't to your own bad habits, that is the ultimate form of self-respect.
Section 6, Reclaiming Your Time.
As we move toward the conclusion of our journey today, we really need to recognize what is truly at stake here. Every single time you consent to a request that doesn't align with your goals, you surrender a piece of your life. Saying no is a muscle. It's definitely not going to be easy at first, especially if you spent decades accommodating others. But just like any muscle, it needs resistance to grow stronger. Zahariades encourages us to start small, in incredibly low-risk situations. Just picture yourself at a restaurant. The server asks if you'd like to see the dessert menu. Assert your boundary gracefully but firmly. No, I don't want dessert today. Thank you. Feel the power in that tiny victory. It costs absolutely nothing, but it trains your brain. And gradually, as you build up this assertiveness muscle, you'll be able to step up to higher-risk situations with family and bosses, relying on your own internal convictions instead of your fear of conflict. So, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. Are you the architect of a life built upon healthy intentions? Your time, your energy, and your focus are non-renewable resources. Once they're squandered on other people's priorities, they can never, ever be reclaimed. You have the permission right here, right now, to start putting yourself first, to stand your ground, to refuse to be taken for granted. So the next time your phone rings, remember this. Your no is the very foundation of your freedom. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Now get out there and go exercise that muscle.